listen, I just want you to know I'm doing The Godfather. And I said, what's the matter with him? There's something wrong with him. Because The Godfather was the biggest book, the biggest film, and then I thought he's now, it's, you know, it's tough in Hollywood, you know, you get, anyway, I thought that it was very strange. And I said, well, that's good, Francis. So I was humoring him. And I said, fine, I think that's great. Wow, he says, yes. He said, it is. And I had read the book. I said, it's a great book. You know, it's really very entertaining. He says, yeah. He says, and I tell you, I'm thinking of using you as Michael Corleone. And I thought, nah, he's really nuts here. You know, so I thought, okay, let me just think about this for a second. I flash on the book, and right away I'm thinking, as an actor does, you know, I thought, gee, it's not a good role. It's Sonny is the part I can play. You know, it's got meat in it that she could really get out there and, you know, do what Jimmy does, and try to do it anyway. And there I was, on the phone with him thinking, I don't think I can do Michael, you know. And he said, Michael, is you? I didn't say that. I just said, wow, that's really, I almost said strange, but I didn't. Anyway, that was it. And I hung up the phone and I thought, well, this is either a dream or a joke or whatever it is. But sure enough, it was real. And then started that whole, you know, trial and them not wanting me and Francis wanting me.
What it really was is that, you know, Bob Evans is quite a tall, good-looking guy, and originally he wanted Brian O'Neill or Redford, and don't laugh because there are blonde Sicilians. Sicilians are famously blonde because they were under the French were there for 200 years, so there are blonde, blue-eyed Sicilians. But I finally realized is that, you know, Bob wanted someone who looked like him to play Michael, and I wanted someone who looked like me. Now that you... Oh! When I was thinner, you know, and I thought,
yeah. We could be related. But I was very, and I just want to say this, when a director wants you for a part, you're lucky, you know, I mean, it's really something. It's like somebody who likes you. You don't know why they like you, but they just like you. So you sort of like them, right? I mean, that's sort of he likes me so much, I don't know, I like him, yeah. So he wanted me so much, I thought, well, maybe I can play this role or something. And I labored over that. But the studio didn't want me, as we've been through before. Yet, and then they didn't want me after they hired me. Did I say that? And while we were filming, Francis was, you know, concerned. Again, I was new to films. I didn't know what to do quite. But I had a sense of this character because I would think about it all the time. It was in me. I was living on 90th and Broadway, and I walked to the Village and back every day. Well, it's not a big thing, but I did it. And I did it thinking about this role, just trying to figure out where can I go with it, you know. And finally, I didn't quite know. I had some idea. Of course, I was unable to articulate it to Francis at the time. I just didn't have the, you know, as you can tell, I mean, it's not easy for me to talk. But you'll get used to it. But in any event, I came and I started filming, and it was dizzying, you know, the whole thing, Diane and I, and that wedding thing. I mean, we got so loaded after that wedding scene.
You can't tell before. You can't tell from that wedding scene where he tells her about the guy and your brains and the contract. That was literally shot at night because we were so late. We had lost the light, and we were in deep trouble schedule-wise, and they just pumped light in. I don't know if you remember.
A lot of chaos going on there.
It was very, very dark.
But we were theater actors. We were not used to film, and I think that was the whole thing had a surreal feeling to it. We got back and we started drinking. We were just talking about where do we go from here? You know, we're gone. It's over. This is the worst film ever made. We know nothing about so there it is, and we're going along, and I come back in, I don't ask, nobody talks to me, and only Francis who would talk to me, but the great guy for me on this picture was Al Ruddy. For some reason, Al would always come up to me during the shooting, and come up to me and say, hey kid, come here, Pacino, listen to me, you're gonna be great. You're gonna be great in this picture. You're great. You know what I'm saying? I say, oh yeah, thanks. You know, I didn't know what I was doing, but it was really encouraging. He was the only one who spoke to me. Because I would do scenes, you know, and I'd be in the middle of a scene somewhere, and I'd hear some stuff. I really heard, I wasn't just hearing things. I heard people were giggling, you know, they were sort of snickering. What is that about? And it was about me, you know. Where did Francis get this guy? I remember, and I remember Francis actually. You remember the time you called me into the Ginger Man? Do you remember that at all? You were sitting. What did you say? You were really cool. You were sitting there with your family, and you were very nice to me. The only thing you didn't do was you didn't ask me to sit down at the table, which I took as a sort of strange, you know, reaction. And I thought, well, I'll stand here then. And you told me, straight out, that I got to start getting my chops together. You know, it's not, you know, I got great confidence in you. I sort of, in a way, you were saying, you know, I sort of don't know what you're doing. And then you did one of the most wonderful things. You said, I've prepared the rushes, the takes that you've done, and they're at Paramount. You remember that now? Is that coming to you? No? Oh. Maybe you'll dream about it again tonight or something. But there I was, looking at...
Show you the stuff.
Yeah, you showed me the stuff. I mean, that was amazing. He said, take a look at what you're doing. And I looked at it in this room by myself, and just sitting there thinking, well, it isn't very good, or whatever it is. It seems okay. It doesn't even seem okay, but it doesn't matter, because my mind was always thinking that Michael was something he was, you know, I was going for the ending of the movie, which makes him somewhat enigmatic, you know, and early on he's like someone who you don't pay attention too much, so that when the transition comes, right, finally when he becomes the Don, you go, whoa, where did that come from? That was my hope. And I tried to orchestrate my role that way. And so, but I sort of knew that I was doing it, but I was really on the wrong track. So I went to him and said, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Because I didn't know what else to say to him, because he was amazing. So I said, I see what you mean. And then he did what is the most brilliant thing anybody could do. He actually changed the schedule. He took the Sollozzo scene where Michael shoots the Sollozzo and the captain, and he put it up front. It wasn't scheduled for that day. And so, because the studio was done with me, I was gone. And he showed him the Sollozzo scene, and they kept it.